Hey artists, happy Tuesday. I'm very grateful to share this next video with you because I was able to sit down with a friend of mine who is an amazing artist, a great mother, and has such a passion for psychology and mental health. We talked more about the emotional and mental side of following our dreams so that we could avoid the ever so popular artist burnout. Artist burnout is very real, and we certainly don't want our craft and all our hard work to suffer the consequences. So take a listen and enjoy. Hey Rachel, thank you so much for stopping by and taking the time out of your day to chat with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
Of course. So do you want to kind of introduce yourself a little bit, let everybody know who you are and what you like to do and all that?
Sure. So my actual name is Rachel Jurkovich. My stage name, or I guess my music name, is Chel, which is obviously just the latter half of my first name. I've loved music for a long time. The only formal training I've really had was piano when I was a little youngster. But that kind of instilled a love for music in me. And then my dad was also one that taught me just kind of basics on guitar and drums. And he was really into music. So that was an inspiration for me growing up. And then I was always a strong writer, and that was a big interest of mine. So at some point that turned into more like songwriting, poem writing, poetry, and stuff like that. And once I got more into the music stuff, it kind of just flowed together. So I did a little bit with it when I was a teenager, some coffee shop gigs and, stuff like that. And then kind of fell off of it for a long time when I got married and had children and just the daily grind. It just kind of lost sight of that and kind of forgot how important it was to me and how much joy it brought to me. But a few years ago, I started to pick back up with things again, started writing again, decided I want to start doing recordings, which is a whole new thing. You start talking about the technological processes that go on and you're tracking all of that. And, just learning a new DAW interfaces, all of these things that I had no clue about before. It's definitely been a big learning process, and there are growing pains that have gone along with that.
Absolutely. And it's very intimidating. I don't know how people produce and figure out all that stuff. I really wish I could learn that. So maybe in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my last video that we talked about was the emotional and mental grind of following our dreams. All we do is talk about the physical. We have all these artists and coaches and mentors that tell us, step-by-step guidelines, how to do this, how to market, how to promote. But nobody ever talks about how to deal with the stress that comes with trying to pursue an intimidating goal, and the stress of trying to be perfect and trying to fit in and trying to be trendy and all this stuff. So I want to kind of branch off of that today and just talk about the ever so popular artist burnout.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I asked you to be my guest today because I know that you have a really big passion for psychology and mental health. Do you want to just give us a little detail about why it's passionate to you?
Absolutely. So since a very young age, for whatever reason, I've always been very interested in it. I remember going to the library with my parents, and I don't know, I was probably 10, and picking out a psychology book just because I had such an interest in it. It was just something that was fascinating to me. Having, members of my family, people close to me who had mental health struggles, along with ones that I've had myself over the years. It really just became a passion to me to understand it, mostly so that I could help. Mm-hmm. I could help myself so that I could help others, to kind of remove that stigma that's around it. When you don't talk about things, when things aren't out in the open, it makes it that much harder to deal with and to work through. So educating myself on it was a big priority of mine, and it's come into play in what I'm doing as an artist and musician. It's come into play in my personal life, just everywhere.
It's funny to be so young and to be so interested in something that's so, I guess, adult, or it's so, it's so in depth and everything. I know that when it comes to like the psychology and the mental and emotional side of following dreams, that's where it gets really tricky. As an artist, what type of struggles mentally did you kind of encounter during your journey of following music?
So I would probably, it's interesting that we're doing this topic, and this is kind of reminding me of, a situation I've had recently with one of my daughters is kind of hitting that age. She's in middle school this year, and things are changing for her. And I've had to sit back. I'm gonna get emotional about this probably.
That's okay. That's okay. When it comes to our children and like the innocent minds, it's so hard because you just want to protect them so much. And the world is a scary place, so I totally get it.
It just reminded me of what it was like to be that age, to have all these insecurities, to not quite know what it is to fully be yourself and to be comfortable being that. And I think a lot of times as an artist, and I know that when I first started, I felt that way.
Mhm.
Sometimes we write from a place that's very deep within ourselves, and it's so hard when you put that piece of yourself out there to other people because you
Yes.
open yourself up for rejection, judgment,
Mhm.
feeling not good enough, all of those things that it's like feeling when you're going through these growing pains of finding yourself. So it's kind of comparable to that, and where you're finding yourself as an artist, especially when you first start. And it's a journey that I don't think ever ends.
Mhm.
As an artist, we evolve, we write differently, we learn new things, we grow as we go through that process. And so it's like a constant shedding of this old skin and like revealing a new skin. And it's just so interesting to me how hard that can be, to get over. People don't really, I don't know if people who don't write think about it or know what it's like. You ask them, hey, would you listen to this and let me know what you think? Or, and I always feel the need to put a disclaimer on it. Now it's just a work in progress. It's not there yet, because to me,
I do that.
I know
Yeah,
how raw my feelings are when they're going to be listening to this, and
I
so a
do
lot of
that too.
times their response to it may not be what I want, or what's comforting to me. You're not saying this is amazing, this is great,
Right, right. I struggle a lot when people don't like, I don't know how to put it. I'm not like over here wanting everyone to praise me, but I struggle if somebody's like, "Oh, I liked it." And you're just like, "That's it?" Like, don't you have anything else to say? Like I poured my soul into this. Like, don't you have anything to say? So I totally get that. I get that.
But they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So I will say most definitely it was probably 5, 6 years ago or so when things were going badly in my marriage. Things were going downhill. There was a separation. I did have my 2 children at that time, and they were very young. And it was just a lot of mental and emotional turbulence during that time in my life. We did end up separating permanently. And so that was just a whole nother thing to
Mhm.
add on to the pile.
Right.
But that was definitely when I began to take my own mental health much more seriously and try to find solutions to get through things. I began to have a lot of struggles, depression and anxiety, ruminating thoughts, stuff like that. I got to a really, really low point. And I think it was actual burnout, in every facet of my life. I was so depressed, and there was really nothing that I could point to and say, this is why. I had my girls, I had a good life, I had enough finances with what I was doing, but I was just so low. I was having suicidal thoughts and things like that. Now, at this point, I mean, nothing was done. It wasn't any attempts. I tried to do my best to just also view those thoughts as just messengers, third parties. They're not a part of me. Just they would come and go, and I would let them. But it was obviously disturbing to me that I was having them, and I knew it was just because I was suffering so much. That's
Right.
why I'm having these thoughts. This is my brain's way of trying to have me not feel this anymore, feel this
Right.
bad anymore. And I'll never forget the one day, actually, the doctor that I worked with, he pulled me aside. I kept declining attempts to talk to people because why? What am I going to tell them? I don't have a reason. And he just pulled me aside and wouldn't let go any further. And, you know, I told him what was going on, how I was feeling, the thoughts. And, you know, he said, we've all been there. If anybody tells you they haven't, they're lying, you know. And I told him I've been trying, I've been going to therapy, I've been on medication, I've done all of these things and nothing's helping. And he said, maybe you're doing too much. Mm-hmm. Maybe you need to stop for a while. Right. I would sleep until I felt like I wanted to wake up. That day I would do whatever I wanted. I might read a book. Mm-hmm. I might go for a walk. I might not do anything but just sit in silence on my couch for a couple hours. Right. And I just stopped trying so hard to fix myself and to make it better. Mm. And what happened was I started to learn how to take care of myself naturally and by intuition. The things that needed to be done, sure, they got done. They always would get done. But beyond that was, what do I feel like doing today? Listen to myself, listen to my body. What does my body need for me to do for it today, to be healthy, to be good, to move forward? And that was really the first turning point for me. The second was getting into a new counselor who specializes in therapy called EMDR, which was life-changing for me. Wow. That plateau that I hit, it just took me above and beyond on so many levels. I recommend it to everybody who is struggling and who has been through other forms of therapy that haven't been able to get good success or felt like they've reached a plateau. I just can't speak enough on how much I felt it did for me.
I mean, that's so great. And yeah, sometimes we have to hit like such a low in order to find the thing that works best for us. And that's the thing that I want to talk about, is kind of just taking a break when you need it, instead of waiting and still burning yourself out more and more and more, where you end up becoming depressed, not wanting to get out of bed. And then you end up going weeks without accomplishing anything that you want, instead of just taking 2 hours of the day when you needed it in the moment.
Right.
Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that with all of us, because that's tough. And I think it's admirable that you have went through that and you know what works for you and you're still going strong. It's really important to focus on the little wins, not just the big wins, and to appreciate the things that you do have and to focus on the positive. You know, somebody might not think that getting out of bed is a win, but it is. And I think that artists and, you know, just anybody, not even artists, just people in general, like if you're going through something tough, or you have an intimidating goal, or you're going through a breakup, or, you know, anything, you have to notice how you're still being such a strong person during those times.
Right. I had actually recorded myself playing a song one time and went to send it to my sister so she could listen to it and give me some feedback. And I watched it, played it back to myself, and I was like, man, the way that I talked to myself in this video, you know, the words that I used, they were so critical. They were so harsh. You know, anytime I would mess up or something wasn't going right or it didn't sound right. And it took that intentionality of actually looking at how I talk to myself, how I think about myself and all of that, for me to realize this is messed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is part of the problem right here, is my own views of myself. And it kind of, my thought was, and this has always been the bar for me, is would I be okay with me talking to my children that way? Right. No, never would I ever. It's sad to say, but there are things that I would tolerate for myself that I never would have tolerated for them. And in part of this process of going through these struggles and trying to get myself healthy, was starting to learn to basically treat myself as I would my child, treat myself as a child. Right. Be gentle, you know, give space, give understanding, give grace. You know, when we get older, it's like we feel like we need to be these perfect individuals. Mm-hmm. And it's just so unrealistic. I kind of shut that down. I wouldn't let myself talk that way. I wouldn't let myself think that way. It was like I would have this little mini Rachel in my mind when these thoughts would come up, and I would be like, no, I'm not going to talk to her that way. I'm not going to treat her that way. She deserves better.
I love that. And it's so true, because like we're so, we're so hard on ourselves, but like when it comes to somebody else, we're like, no, like don't feel like that. Like you work hard and you do that. But then when it comes to us, we're like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm guilty of that. And everybody is, we're all hard on ourselves. And I think it's great that you kind of noticed that about yourself and you took charge. Do you feel like you have any tips or advice on kind of how to avoid artist burnout and just how to kind of avoid feeling overwhelmed? Anything like that, if you have any advice for artists?
I think one thing that I struggled with that I learned is important to do as well is to ask for help. Mm-hmm. So if you have people who are also doing the same thing, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. If there's something that you've tried to do and you just know, I'm not going to be able to do this to the level that I want, which, last year for me, that was finding someone to do mastering, mixing for me, because I was looking up all these videos and just thinking, I just don't know that this is going to end up right or sound right. Right. When you try to do it all yourself, sometimes it's hard to lose that big picture of seeing that, not only is it a thing that you could be better if you had someone else's help too. A lot of times we want to just do it all ourselves so we can feel so proud of what we did and feel independent. And that's all good and fine. But when it comes at the cost of quality, or having a better song, then what's the point?
Absolutely.
What's there to be proud of? It could have been better if you had help from somebody else.
I hear you. I was like that. I was like, no one touch it. Like, this is my song. Like, I don't want people like telling me what to do. And now I'm just like, someone help me. Like, I need help. And collaborating is just great. Like, someone might come up with an idea you didn't think about, and then the song is so much better. So,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's important. So asking for help when it's needed. I think also when you are struggling with one particular thing, a lot of times it might be something tech wise for me when I'm in the studio trying to lay stuff down, or it's just a part that I want to get, but it's not sounding right. And so I know it's not quite right. Taking that step back, and you don't have to not do anything, but just do something different. So instead of, like you want to lay down a nice strings part, or you've been so focused on the music, or you've been so focused on the vocals of this and it's just not going, take a break, stop doing that, do something else, start writing, go back to doing some lyrics, start playing with some other melodies, or pick up an old song that you started and never finished. Watch educational videos. It's kind of hard in this day and age with so much hitting you from at every angle. And for me, it's like, it's so weird, but I have to, when I'm in the process of almost like finishing and I'm really getting into it with a song, I have to stop listening to other people. I like their music. I will be sitting there comparing myself. It's like, I get so caught up in that, watching other people's videos, watching them play on Instagram or TikTok or this or that. And I immediately just feel so insignificant and like, why am I even trying? So, and that's just counterproductive. So it's best when you're feeling confident, when you're feeling good about your skills and yourself and what you're creating. So for me, I find that I need to shut off those outside influences that can cause my confidence to dip. It's hard in this day and age because people are so consistent with things, and you hear that you have to be consistent. You have to put this content out there. You have to do this. You have to do that. Taking the time for yourself, you're going to find that when you do that and when you allow yourself to take that time, you're going to come back and you're going to produce so much more quickly, so much more effectively and efficiently, because that's what you needed, rather than trying to push through and then you're just like stumbling the whole time because you're burnt out.
When you're in work mode 24/7, so is your brain. And it needs a break. And when you allow your mind to drift and to rest and to like it sparks creativity, it sparks new ideas, whether you just want it to be like a passion and just for fun, or you want to be Britney Spears' next, have that success. It's still important to do it that way and to take your breaks and to just put your mental health first. You cannot succeed unless you're okay up here.
The amount of, celebrities, musicians, and artists out there who have a high level of popularity, and they have so many issues. They have trouble with their mental health, they have addiction issues, drug and alcohol abuse, all of that.
Right.
And it goes hand in hand when you don't take care of yourself. And so what's it worth if you have a hit song if your life is miserable on the inside?
Exactly. I'm really grateful that you came on here and that you shared your experiences and just shared your wisdom, because you definitely have it. And I think a lot of artists will benefit from all of this. So thank you so much.
I really hope so, Michelle. And I'm appreciative for you. I'm glad that our paths have crossed. You have strengths in areas where I don't, where you do have this part down, where you're able to do things and schedule these things in and get videos out there. And those are the things that really just overwhelm me. So I'm happy to do things like this that are easy for me and don't require much planning, so to speak. I appreciate what you're doing and the positivity that you're putting out there, because it is hard to find. And I think that you're going to build yourself a nice community of people who have the same goals in mind. And that's an important part of this, is having a community of people, so you don't have that feeling of being alone in it. And you can reach out to somebody and they know exactly what it is that you're going through. So you're providing that type of a community for people like us who are artists and musicians out there trying to do our thing. And so I appreciate you and we appreciate you.
Thank you. That means way more to me than you could think. So thank you so much. Before we say our goodbyes, do you want to share anything about like a next project, or just have people know where to follow you if you're looking for that? Just feel free to do a little promo about yourself.
Sure.
Okay.
I am on Instagram and Facebook. I do have a YouTube channel. I'm on TikTok, but I don't really use that anymore, because for social media, that's just too much for me. So you can follow me. The name is Chel. I can get my handles to you, but I don't know them off the top of my head.
That's okay. I'm gonna be linking your information in the description of the video.
Great. Okay. And so, yeah, I have a few songs that are in the process right now. The next one is probably closest to being done. It's called Resurrect, and that's more of a piano-centered piece.
I will definitely let everyone know where they can find you, support you. If somebody, really connected with something you said, they could reach out, ask for some advice or anything, if you're cool with that.
Absolutely.
So I will link your information at the bottom. And yeah, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michelle.
Right, see ya. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you guys liked today's video. Thank you so much, Rachel. We appreciate you so, so much. I just want to also let you guys know that I'm going to be in Mexico next week, so I will not be posting a video, but afterwards I will be right back and I will have a whole new subject for you for us to talk about. Thank you guys for sticking around and joining me again, and I will see you soon.